Without further ado, everyone, welcome to the live stream. We have PapaKicks joining us here, Tab and Rachel here. We're going to be answering a lot of your guys' questions. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask. And there's a channel in the Discord, or you can ask in the live chat here on Twitch. So, all right. Are you ready, Papa?
I'm good to go.
All right. So I'll get rid of that, and I will put on that. There we go. Oh, wait. Wrong one. There we go, guys. PapaKicks joins us. Thanks for coming on with us and talking. It's good to have you. Anything you'd like to share with us before we start drilling you?
I don't know. I guess the last time we talked on live stream, I was, a tester. I don't know. I'm sure most people know it by now, but I got hired at Boombit, and now I'm a game designer, and that's why we're doing this, so we can have some fun.
All right. Well, me and Rach talked to him a little bit before we started. And I don't know if you've noticed some of the awesome changes. I'm not saying it was all him because they're a team over there. But since PapaKicks has gotten hired, I've definitely seen some good changes in the game. I'm stoked about them. And let's get into it. Got a bunch of questions, but one that no one else asked. This is just one that I wanted to ask. Let's talk about a girl and her golem. Like, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this?
What are my thoughts about her?
Yeah. Do you like her? What?
Yeah, I think she's pretty awesome. If you want to know the backstory, like, I had the idea for the crystallization mechanic quite a while ago, actually, before I was even hired. And then when, it came time to come up with a new hunter, something triggered that memory, and I'm like, oh, okay, I want to use that mechanic. Now, how do I turn it into a hunter? And then, from there, somehow this, golem came out with that he's protecting this girl, and, it just kind of spread from there. You come up with the core ideas, and then, you got to figure out the perks, all the fine-tuning things that you're going to do. And then once you finally get the ability to play it, because the devs, implemented it, it's super satisfying to see, like, I created this and now I'm playing it in the game, and it's awesome. So I'm really happy with her. I was actually disappointed in Mech Assassin, only because the feedback everybody gave, I wanted him to be super powerful, but because of that, you need a limitation, which was the movement speed, or the movement mechanic. But we got feedback right away of, having the charge bar fill up while moving, and we had it done, 3 or 4 days into the season, but then we had to wait an entire month before we could publish it, so that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was actually gonna bring that up before you even did. So yeah, Papa worked on both those hunters, but one thing is like everyone was really super stoked for Mech Assassin, and guess what? It was a well-deserved and a good fix. It might have taken us a month to get it, but it actually was really awesome. And I was thoroughly satisfied with the update to him. Like when I'm doing chaoses with anyone, when I'm just helping people run through chaos and things. That's my go-to on wave 1 because, yeah, he's valuable in other waves, but he's just really easy. That one upgrade made him what we expected him to be, and mistakes happen and everything. But with I'm gonna call her Annie. I know she technically comes from Dota. Like as far as the girl in her bear or doll, come from something like that. But one really cool thing about her that not a lot of people realize, like, So she, like, Mech Assassin was amped up. We were all super excited for Mech Assassin here and everything he has going on, because I mean his toolkit just looks overpowering. Like, you can just read his abilities and all that and say, hey, yeah, this guy's going to be a monster. But and he is really strong. But her, when you look at her abilities, I mean, if you don't know what you're looking for, she doesn't necessarily look super strong out the gate. But when you first mentioned that you had a hand in that, one thing that happened was I realized you said it, but she's kind of like the new Mad Doc for the old school players. Mad Doc was, before they nerfed the heck out of Disease, which they're bringing it back a little bit in moderation because it was OP. But it seems to me like she's kind of the new Mad Doc for now. What are your thoughts on this?
Exactly. That was literally the goal. And I think the reason why she's a little bit too strong solo is because the penalty isn't high enough. But the goal really was to make her a support hunter. So her, you're supposed to, debuff the boss, get a bunch of crystal stacks on it, and then let your partner come in. And instead of being, let's say, Mech Assassin or Ninja or somebody who hits really hard, the best partner for her is somebody who hits super fast. So somebody like Ancient One. Ancient One hits, thousands of times, in a couple seconds. And each one of those is destroying a crystal and dealing damage. So it's supposed to be nice big burst damage. And yes, the support hunter, even though she's pretty good solo also.
Okay. All right. So that was one I just wanted to get out of the way. I thought it was a good, well, I was going to say icebreaker, but we'll say a crystal breaker just because we were talking about her. Let's go ahead and, this one's from YouTube, a guy, Alex, I'm going to mispronounce that even, Deluxe, Alex Deluxe 1994. He wants to know, why don't the developers add boost to Undead Grounds like exist in Champion Quest? I do get a lot of complaints about, like, Champion Quest is kind of the hardest place to farm mythics, so I thought it was a good second question to ask you.
Undead Grounds is the hardest place to farm mythics. CQ is much easier.
Oh yeah.
Unless I'm mistaken. So, no, we agree, actually. I don't know where the idea came from, but we are adding booster or a similar type mechanic to Undead Grounds to kind of fix that. Yeah, so we are adding that.
Sounds good. All right, let me. Well, so there you go, guys. We have it. They're working on it. Our voices have been heard. That's awesome to hear. Sorry, that'll happen when I switch channels a little bit, guys. We're gonna go on. This person is Airshot Guy 01, and he's got like 4 questions. So we'll start with one. It's, any plans to help with all the people that start a round and quit almost immediately? I'm actually making a video on this. When he made it, I'm like, I'll ask it in the live stream, and I'll post this to YouTube too. But it's a 2-part question, but I'm going to make a video on that, guys. Don't worry about it. Some of that may not be the other person. Some of it may be you. If you're starting with a super strong hunter, they may want, even if they have no problem carrying you, they may want you to actually save that hunter for later rounds. And if you don't know these things, so I'm going to make some videos to help you guys kind of not deal with that. But I'll start the question over again. Any plans to help with all the people that start around and quit almost immediately? I started playing maybe 1 out of every 10 times. I guess he's saying 1 out of every 10 times he gets someone that sticks around past 1. I'm guessing that's what he's saying.
Yeah, so one thing I want to address is that a lot of times when people try to solve this, they want to add a penalty, and I'm for the most part opposed to this, because you're going to have false, you're going to punish players who are playing fair for whatever reason. Maybe they have a bad internet connection, something like that. It's also potentially abusable. If I don't want to get that penalty, I can play poorly and force you to quit instead. So I mean, everybody wants to do, hey, let's just add a penalty, but it's, in my opinion, not the best solution. So what we have planned actually is, what we noticed is that most of the players who are quitting are, full Titan. They're looking for the 10-minute run, 7-minute run, whatever. And they don't want to carry somebody who's not, similar gear as them. So we're actually going to do matchmaking brackets. So if you're, say, 9K gear score to, let's say, 12K gear score, you're going to be in a bracket with people similar to your gear score. And then if you're at the 17, max gear score, you're going to be in the 15K to 17K bracket. So both groups, they're not going to have to quit on the other player or, things like that. It does mean that you're not going to get carried as much, but if the choices are getting carried once out of 10 times and the other 9 times they quit on you, versus being able to play with somebody your skill level and maybe do less crystals for easier difficulty, it's a pretty easy decision. So that's what we have planned, and hopefully it solves the problem. We'll have to try it and find out.
Well, I kind of like that idea. Is that something that y'all can make toggleable, like where, like, say someone like myself who doesn't mind running with lower gear score? Is that a major inconvenience? Because I don't mind running with people, and I could also turn it on and off. And while we're talking about features, kind of the collect all thing, like with clan bosses and things, well, that's probably a. We'll skip that one. That was a dumb one. But we'll just stick with the first part. Is that something y'all can make toggleable pretty easy?
So the plan is basically you're going to be in your bracket for 30 seconds. And then instead of popping up, there's no one to play with, do you want to play solo? You'll have 3 options. Do you want to stay in the queue? Do you want to expand your bracket so now you're able to match with
I love it. That works. Yeah.
Above or below it, and then the third one would be solo. And then if for whatever reason it's another 30 seconds and it times out again, then you can keep going until you're grouped with everyone.
I think all right.
But chances are you'll have a match before that.
So I don't know whose idea that was, but I think that's a good one.
I don't know if it was mine per se, but like you said, it's
a good idea.
A lot of team collaboration. So.
Yeah. There are probably people throwing, like, y'all throw a little bit at it and make things work. All right. I don't know if anyone else has questions, but this guy had a few more. Got a few more here. All right, so this is also from Airshot Guy 01. Any plans on updating Clan Chest? And then he puts in brackets here. There are quite a few clans that get 20 by Friday night with, I knew that one was coming from somebody, so yeah, I'm figuring y'all are thinking on that right now.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest suggestions we get. So we definitely plan on a few changes to it. We'll probably expand it and include some rewards relative to Dark Forest and things like that. But what's more exciting to me personally is I don't know how many people know Core on Discord.
Okay.
He's another game designer.
Yeah, Core's really cool.
Yeah, Core's awesome. He's been working on, I guess we could call it kind of like Clans 2.0. Just what features and possibilities there are. Let's say you have like a clan town where you and your clanmates can all join and walk around, and might be NPCs you could walk up to. I mean, that's not necessarily what's going to happen, but that's the kind of scope we're looking at for how we want to change clans. And anything clan chest related would for sure be involved with that. It's going to be cool.
Would that be something similar to the Clan Hall, Clan Hall 2.0, I could call it, I mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah,
Okay.
Clan Hall is like a crappy version of,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, that's
what's potentially in store.
an order of magnitude
And there's
greater.
other things too that are in discussion, and it's not ready to spoil those yet. But if we're able to accomplish them, everyone's gonna enjoy it.
Okay. All right. Well, I won't ask you to do too much. I'll just ask you to do it. You or Gamu to do it here first, or maybe together. No. As far as
That can be fun.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll figure it out. I don't want to pressure you too much on that. I just appreciate the interview. Oh Lord, this one is this is kind of a throwaway question, but I told him I told everybody I'd ask him all the questions. So, any way to increase the amount of clan trades? Oh, before we answer that though, back to what you were talking about, because I did want to mention one thing on that as far as the clan chest. If you do incorporate the change, a suggestion I would put in, just throw it in the mix when you think about things. You could keep it at 20, or you could find a finite number or whatever, and then just make it a scaling metric, and that way it doesn't overly favor the super strong clans, and make it a scaling metric. So say you got clan chest 20 last weekend. If you get clan chest 20 next weekend, this is what you get. But if you got, say, which don't hurt the higher end clans either, because I'm in one. But say you're in a clan that's consistently getting like CC 10, 15, something like that. If you get 16, maybe an incremental reward, because those guys aren't like me. They don't have 10 plus clan chests saved up, a lot of them. So having that little bump, you get a boost for actually trying harder. Give that to the smaller clans. The bigger clans, we're always going to get the maximum. Unless you guys really go ham on us, we're always going to do that. But just a suggestion, if you want to give any thoughts before I go on to the next question, just...
We have questions on Twitch too, just an FYI.
Okay. So just to answer your question about the clan chest real quick, I can kind of give you an example of game design in real time. So as I was listening to you, the thought occurred to me of having some kind of like scaling system where, let's say we remove, clan chest levels completely, and just based on, how many trophies you gain during the 48-hour period or whatever, that changes the rewards in the, in the clan chest, but there's like no limit, and it just kind of goes, curves towards infinite. So if your clan wants to go crazy, you could get, a lot more than other clans, but it would also be more difficult. So if you want to get, double, it might require double trophies to get 10% increase, something like that. So that could be a good way to kind of handle the clan chest system without having to have these levels that are stuck in place for a year. It's going to scale with you,
yeah,
including, the next 4 dungeons, things like that.
Yeah, that's good.
And then all we have to do is add new, rewards inside the chest.
That sounds something similar to what I was suggesting. It sounds like it sounds really good. Anyway, instead of me asking the next question that I was going to ask, because this guy has 4, we're not going to give him 4 in a row, even though he asked them way ahead of time, guys, so we were going in order. But Tab, why don't you go ahead and hit Papa with the first question there from the Twitch stream.
Okay, so some of these questions came in a little bit later, like earlier whenever y'all were talking. So Judio asked, is the delay going to change, like switching to and from? I can have him put more info in as far as what he was referring to, what y'all were talking about earlier. And then how about clan upgrades? Will that be increased?
Yeah, can you get more example about what they're talking about, the delay?
I will definitely do that. We can go ahead and go to the clan upgrades if they will be increased while I work on getting extra information, so we can come back to that question.
Gotcha. I think we might actually be talking about the bracket system for Dark Forest matchmaking. Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. So if you're referring to clan perks, clan upgrades, those are going to be updated as well for, Dark Forest, things like that. Core, he's already got a planned change for the skip 5 levels of a dungeon perk, which is now pretty much useless now that the legacy dungeons are only 10 levels. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a really good decision that he made to replace that perk. So, if you guys have suggestions for, different ways to increase or improve clan upgrades, clan perks, let us know in the suggestions. We're all ears on changes that are simple and, increase the quality of life of everyone.
All right, but before we go on, I just
Perfect,
realized...
thank you. I did get some clarification on that first question from Dudio. He's saying basically
One second,
if people
Ted.
aren't matched in a quick time period, he would still like to match with somebody not close to his level. Are they going to change the delay and how long it takes to get matched?
Well, but before you do that, I'll tell you what, Tab. Here's what we'll do. I just realized this. So Dudio on Twitch is actually Rach. So I'm gonna let Rach quickly and concisely ask his question, if that's okay. Sound good? All right. Oh wait, I clicked the wrong button there. I almost removed Rach as a friend. There we go. Rach, go ahead and ask your question quickly and concisely.
Really quick testing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So I ideally, what I'm asking is, when you go into matchmaking and you're there for 12 to 15 seconds, it'll say, "Do you want to run this solo?" I'm wondering if the pool for other people will have less of a delay and search for other players that are not necessarily matched to your gear.
So it's 30 seconds, it's not 12, but to answer your question, yeah, we'll look at that. We don't want people waiting in the queue for too long, but we still want to address the problem as well. So we'll look at fine-tuning it. Maybe it'll be 20 seconds before it expands the search results, things like that. That's what our testers are for, obviously, and then even once it's live, it's something that we can adjust if we need to. So if people are spending too long in queue and it's no longer, not as fun, we can totally change that if needed.
Papa, I'm gonna go ahead and skip some of the questions for a minute, because with Rach bringing that up and you mentioning what you mentioned, just totally unhunt Royale related, just one gamer to another. Does PapaKicks, the name, have anything to do with the old Papa Smurf? If y'all aren't serious gamers, you won't know about smurfing, or who Papa Smurf. You won't know about that. Do you know the legend there?
I do not. I'm not familiar.
Okay, so I'll probably get the game wrong, but I think it was like I want to say it was Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, but Warcraft. When they had a matchmaking server, they had a matchmaking system like that kind of killed the game. So these guys got to such a high elo, which it was an elo system, not the system you're thinking of, which Rach's question brought it up. But you end up in such a high bracket that you really have a very small pool of people to play with. Well, they were just tired of waiting. So for those of you game nerds out there, that's where smurfing comes from. Is Smurf, Papa Smurf, and Smurfette. Actually, they created that wasn't their names. That was their alt names. They created new names to play ranked in. so that they could play and not have these massive wait times for a game, because it was PC gaming. You remember how the queues could be, especially in an ELO system. So they just slaughtered their way through Papa Smurf and Smurfette or whatever it was. They just slaughtered their way through. So get a little bit of game IQ update. If you guys don't know anything about it, message me on Discord or YouTube, Twitch here, and I will definitely share you with a link to somebody who's made some good content on that. Just some game IQ stuff. But Tab, what's your next question from? Because this guy had 4 in a row. We'll go ahead and get 2 off of Twitch real quick.
Okay, so I did ask 2. The other one was from Rach, which he clarified, which led us into that rabbit hole. And the next one was, can they, how about clan upgrades? Will they be increased? That's where Papa said, please give us some suggestions. What would you guys like to see? That kind of thing. Later in the chat, somebody did give a suggestion. I can go ahead and read that off before reading a question if you would like, Papa.
Sure.
Okay. Gift of Power 82 said that 1 perk could be a 3rd daily clan trade, which I think would help out a bunch of people. But
Yeah,
the next...
it's definitely a possibility.
I'm sorry, I'll let you talk and then I'll ask the next question.
I believe, like, I have Twitch, like, loaded in the side, and I'm just kind of looking at it every once in a while. I think I saw somebody ask about, clan trades in general. And one of the things that is an issue now is that there's been a few exploits for clan trades. I think we're mostly, caught up on fixing those now. But there's definitely some things we want to do with it. And I know that, Boombit and other people have said repeatedly that we're going to have some new servers. That's still in the works. And once those are in place, it's going to be a lot more secure, and we're going to be able to offer a lot more cooler features because we don't have to worry about those exploiters and cheaters anymore. And that's going to include things like, clan trades and things like that. Before I got hired, one of my ideas was, instead of just hunter cards for hunter cards, being able to trade, let's say 5 different currencies. So if I wanted to trade hunter cards, I could accept dungeon gems instead. And, it would be equal amounts of the appropriate amounts. But we'd be able to do that, 2 or 3 times a day. But that would allow everybody who doesn't need hunter cards to still have something to trade, and
Papa,
yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens. But
you're destroying my collection of Elf Archer cards as we speak.
All right. Well, that was definitely insightful. Thank you for that. So the next question coming from Twitch also comes from Rach, and then we have a few more people that have asked questions as well. This kind of goes back to the clan chest question, I'm assuming, but are there going to be any benefits based on like trophies acquired? Who's put in the most trophies? That way it kind of gives people incentive, like it incentivizes people to earn more trophies.
yeah, so
I think you kind of covered that.
probably could have been in game already, but I forgot about it. So somebody suggested it a long time ago, like something like the top 3 players get, let's say 10% bonus rewards, something like that. And I suggested it, or I didn't suggest it, I posted it in our internal chat platform, and it got approved, and then I forgot about it. So I'm going to add it back into the system as an official request to get it changed and added, and it'll probably, happen with that whole Clan 2.0 thing. But yeah, we definitely want to reward, the clan MVPs who are pulling their clan ahead, giving everybody, getting them to the next clan chest level or whatever, appropriate rewards for appropriate effort, basically.
All right. So we'll jump back to the other questions here. I don't want to forget those. This one is going to be a layup. Any way to increase the amount of clan trades? I'm going to say we've covered that till we're blue in the face now, so we'll skip over that one. This one's a bit longer. Any way to change requirements to Dark Forest other than gear score? And I'll read the question, but I think you've already covered this ad nauseum. Any way to maybe change requirements to Dark Forest other than gear score? I find there have been quite a few people who are joining that end up having gear scores of 8,500 or less. People not having a fire set when joining Dark Forest, such as a certain number of 5 clears for Abyssal or Chaos modes. So I really think this is this. I said I'd ask it, but it's kind of. I think you kind of get what he's going for here. It's not a well articulated question, but I think we've pretty much covered the bases on all of that. Like you're doing that sort of stuff. You all already have that figured out. So it's just one of those things that people are dealing with. And everybody, I'm working on some videos and things that we're gonna, like, for you guys, that with them making the changes to the system, guess what? I'm the guy that'll wait for a minute and still join. I'll wait, whatever. I run with people. I do run with some of the higher end players, but I run with you guys all the time too. Half my videos, a guy was just asking me about someone I ran with. I'm like, I don't even know who you're talking about. I made that video. I decided to make the video, and I intentionally queued with a random and found someone that clearly didn't know what they were doing, so I could drive a point home about a specific topic. And one's coming about a few mechanics that people are trying to exploit that were really good in old dungeons that aren't necessarily what you want to do in the old dungeon. So we'll cover that later. I'm not going to bother Papa with that one. I am going to, that is a good segue though into the final question from the YouTube. And I'm looking forward to this just because that shows you how diverse the audience is over there on YouTube. And he asked, can you explain stacking, reflecting, and OP? And then he says, he explains, newbie here, don't always understand what the other player is asking you to do. So PapaKicks, in your words, I thought when I started reading the question, this is going to be a new fire, poison, and tentacles video, but it's a great question for those of them that are still lost in Abyssal Maze specifically. We use the mechanic here and there, but go ahead, take the floor.
Okay, yeah, that's a throwback question. So stacking is basically the way poison works is, every time you attack repeatedly, as long as you keep attacking before it wears off, which is 4.25 seconds, it'll keep adding more stacks, and you'll see the little icon next to the boss. So usually when people are talking about stacking, they want you to go on the boss and start stacking, and if you're using fire, you need 1,000% fire, 1,001% fire, technically higher than 1,000, and then it acts the same way as poison, and you can stack fire the same way. So that's stacking. And then reflect is, once you have enough stacks, the ideal way to kill a boss is to, apply the stacks as fast as you can, and then switch to the other hunter who hits really hard. But there's another way to do it, which is the boss hits really hard. So if you use reflect, what you can do is let the boss hit you, and the reflect damage, hits the boss, and that triggers the poison or fire damage of those stacks. So it winds up, being millions and millions of damage of either poison or fire because you did that stacking and reflect strategy. And it is OP, it is overpowered. I don't know what other, usage there might be other than that. Hopefully that answers the question.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But since it is a throwback question, and it was specifically the person, I know them because they comment on a lot of videos and talk, and they are stuck in Abyssal Maze. Guys, Abyssal Maze, when reflecting an Abyssal Maze, just a fun fact, quick heads up, or whatever you want to call it, you need damage reduction. So if you're having an issue with it and you're running a bunch of green stones, don't understand why you're surviving, I think Papa might have something about damage reduction on his channel. If not, I will make something for you guys. Even though it'll be short, because that's already been we've already crossed that bridge. So I'll make something quick and sweet on that for you guys. But damage reduction, if you're stuck in Abyssal Maze, that's huge. Tab's got another question for you from the Twitch stream.
Okay, thank you, Papa, again, for taking the time to do this for us. We really appreciate it. This should be a pretty quick, easy answer for you. And I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing this person's name incorrectly, but Lear2, they're actually here in the Discord too. They asked, can they implement sorting hunters alphabetically?
I saw that one in the suggestions, and yeah, there's no reason we can't. And I don't see why we shouldn't. So, I'll, when I get a chance, I'll put in the request, and it shouldn't take long to get it added. One of my requests a long time ago was having the hunter sort by release order, and that wasn't an option before. It was only by level, I think, or trophy count. And for me, it was frustrating because, the order kept changing. So I wanted it by release order. So I asked for it, and they added it. And now people are asking for alphabetical. We can add it. No problem.
I'm going to let you know, since I've been playing for a long time, I didn't know that was you, but it being by release order, since I've played as long as I have, that has made my life so easy, because I use that on, that's how they show up. And guys, even if they do introduce the alphabetical, I'm going to let you know, it's still, which they could set it to where it does it in your hunter selection screen, but when I go to pick my hunters in between waves, like on waves that have all the hunters, it's really easy because they already list them in release order there. So having that in my main display instead of by level, like a lot of you guys, I know you want to do that, especially when you're new. You're like, who's the new badass on the block or whatever. But I love the release order thing, so that's awesome. Let's go ahead. I'm going to check here real quick on the stream and see if there's any there. Okay, so no one's asking anything in the Discord. So go ahead with the next question from Twitch. And if you guys haven't already, like, subscribe, follow, and if you want to, do a subscription, you got Amazon Prime, you can do that absolutely free on Twitch. You can do that. Wait until after the stream, though, guys. That way, if you can do it now, if you already have it linked, that's fine. But listen to the whole stream, and then we'll worry about it later. So, oh, Woo Woo. Is that the same Woo Woo? Because Woo Woo has been in here before. But anyway, I don't know if that's the same Woo Woo or not. You got a new? Oh, it's me. Hey, Woo Woo. Okay. All right. Let's go, Tab.
If I could get my button to unmute, that would be awesome. All right. So the next question comes from Gift of Power 82. He's also here in the Discord, so he'll be able to hear you straight away. He's asking, are Rotten Stones going to be more useful outside of Undead Grounds and Dark Forest level 9?
I don't know if there's any plans for it. I know that, floor 9, if people don't know already, the boss is considered a zombie. So Rotten will do a lot more damage on that floor than it won't work on other floors. So I mean, we're trying to keep that kind of thing in mind, of being able to use all of your stones more freely. We have a weakness floor. We have, all the floors are basically earth floors now. As well as the mini bosses are all considered undead, so the Rotten should deal more to them as well. I personally can't think of anywhere else we could put them in the game right now. But I do know that like specific units like Ghost in Abyssal Maze are considered undead, so Rotten should deal more damage there. So I mean, there's no limit to what we can do and stuff like that. We just need to have the ideas. So if people have ideas, suggest them. I know for a long time the suggestion channel hasn't really been maintained or looked at enough. But if you'll notice, recently Gammon started going through and, picking out the ones that are the most upvoted and discussed. And, we're going to start, adding what the ones we really agree with and think should be added. So it basically go suggest it if you have any ideas.
If you guys suggest it also, like, I'm not going to go to Papa or anyone else with every single suggestion that comes to my way, but, like, the one thing, I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the stream or before the stream, but everybody asked me if we're going to get a dungeon that requires, like, 3 people, max gear, balls to the wall, like, really ham. I know I asked him about that a little bit. But I asked him about that because I've been getting that a lot over the years, and guess what? As he said, they're upgrading the servers, and we have those kinds of things going on, so... oh, well, thank you, PapaKicks. You didn't have to do all that. But, yeah, if you guys do have questions, like, if you ask me something, yeah, I may pass it along if I think it's, like, just a really amazing idea, and that they may or may not do something with it, but... If you guys overwhelm me with things, I will go to them. I'll be like, look, I'm getting flooded with this, that, or the other, whatever it is. Even if I don't like it, I'm like, man, this is a dumb idea. But everybody wants it. And guess what? If they implement it and it doesn't work, they're good about making changes when necessary. So, yeah. All right. Let's see what we have next. Tab. Who's got another good question for Papa?
Okay, so we have one question on the Twitch that is a pretty simple, kind of like yes or no, and I have another one that came from, we're actually like in the Discord chat right now that we're in. They typed it here, so I'm going to just go ahead and knock this one out because it's the only one in this chat. So, Dugio's asking, can we get Chaos chairs in the clan hall?
We don't even have Abyssal chairs in the clan hall yet.
Yeah, we really don't. So, I mean, in theory, yes. I'm not sure what the benefit would be if it's just the 5% bonus, I think it is, for gems. So I'll be honest with you guys, I don't like the clan tables personally. You have to go into the clan, you have to go into the clan hall, you have to go sit down at the table, wait for your partner to do the same thing, and then there's a chance you disconnect, or, it does work, and then you have to do it again on the next run. It's not the cleanest system. So I think what might be a better approach is to simply add the friend bonus, the clan bonus, to any time you group with a clanmate. Like, why force you to go to the clan hall and sit at a table? Why not just apply that bonus, period?
I agree also. I agree with that. And also, one thing you have to take into consideration here, guys, is a developer, they're factoring in that's server utilization. That also adds latency issue, disconnect issues, and is 5% worth the time of the loading screens and everything else. Which, before you get to the next question, though, what are we going to do about this loading screen on the Kraken? Can we make that like on wave 1 only?
So, I think long term, what might be a better approach is to just basically take what we did for Chaos and change regular Kraken to that. So you spawn directly onto the Kraken boss and have the Kraken monsters attacking you right away. Something like that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
It's been suggested many times, and we are looking at the pain points, let's call them, in certain dungeons, and double loading screen is definitely one on
Kraken Dungeon is like, before Dark Forest, Kraken Dungeon was my favorite dungeon, and just because it was fun, and it's probably because I was new to the game and it was super hard, so still my favorite dungeon, so I'm not trying to, that's just one I get asked a lot, even though I love it. Like, I'll go through and run through it every once in a while. Like, I won't get all the way naked, but I'll get pretty naked, you know. No Power Stones or something like that, and have fun with some Kraken for nostalgia's sake. So, I don't know. I know I get that one a lot, but go ahead, Tab. I'm sure you get more.
Okay, so I'm going to knock this one out that came in through our Discord voice chat, text chat, and it comes from Sai. And I think he's just wanting a real quick, plain and simple answer. Will gear trading ever become a reality?
Likely not.
Plain and simple answer, no. In a game like this, it's, you know, it is one of our ways that we make money, and being able to just have everybody trade gear, it's counterproductive to that, unfortunately.
I have a suggestion. I have a suggestion, Papa. And you all would have to come up with something finite. Did you ever play Diablo 3 back when they had the trade, what was it called?
The Real Money Auction House?
Yeah.
Yeah. When it first came out, I wanted to make a living off that.
A lot of people did. I
mean, that could be an option, but I mean, based on the response of the Diablo players, I don't think it would be a good choice. So I mean, something like that we can think about, and we pretty much have to, you know, take a poll of the player base and say, you know, would you want this kind of thing added? Otherwise, it's might backfire and nobody wants it.
Anyone though that joins after it's implemented, that's at the bottom of the feeding pool, is going to feel like it's a pay-to-win game at that point. Like, if you started out and you grinded your way up, you're going to be like, oh, this is amazing, because you've got pretty much everything you want. Like, most of what I do, I'm helping other people, I'm building a community, I'm enjoying playing with people, teaching them new things, that are just arguing with Reach, you know how we do. But with something like that, when you start out and you're like, oh man, I got to go to this, and it would make it feel that way for a lot of players. As a gamer, like, I just thought I'd throw the ideal out there. And excellent answer. All right, Tab. Next one. Excellent answer. That shows that they do care about the players there. That shows they do. Go ahead.
Yeah. I do want to follow up with that, though, is, you know, one of the changes that we made that it's pretty obvious is when Dark Force came out, you know, we wanted to make that the gear where, you know, combines all three mythics. And because of that, every player needs roughly 3 times as many mythics. And so we came up with the community event where we're increasing the drop rate. And we're almost done. We're almost up to 300% more mythics for all sources. So rather than just being able to trade, you know, we want to make the grind less punishing. You know, and hopefully people have more fun, get more mythics, things like that along the way.
Yeah.
So that's our preferred solution.
I'll follow up. I want to follow up with you on that follow-up, because I think that is a good idea. But I also would implore you all to consider the fact that when it comes to stuff like that is the grind, especially for new players, is a big part of the game. So I would suggest don't definitely help the newer players. Don't make it too easy on the hard players, on the hardcore players and the old school players, guys like me, Reach, and whatever. I mean, you've got your whales and those people out there too, and some of those are old school players, but keep the grind in, and you know, that way there's got to be a balance, because we also need retention, and keep your efforts the way you have, where, well, heck, you're on a show like this talking with us and everything, but like, keep it focused on the community, because that's what keeps a lot of us old school gamers around, because we understand that you're making the changes for the right reasons. And I remember it took me over a year to get my full Mythic Maze set. Those drop rates were atrocious, and we lost a lot of good players and good community members during that. So learn from your lesson, but don't overlearn. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah. One thing that I want to explain is, you know, like you said, grind is an important part of this game, some people don't like grind, and maybe this game isn't for them. But as long as it's enjoyable and you're having fun and making progress, I like grind. I like sitting there and playing for 5 hours and making progress. So one of the things that hopefully is clear as what we've been doing is we've made dungeons access earlier. They now unlock at like 500 trophies. It used to be 1,500. They're only 10 levels each, and now they have power stones. So there's that. The early game is much easier, much quicker, and then pretty soon you're getting into maze gear. Maze still needs to be adjusted and balanced so that that's not too painful, and then move on into abyssal. There's also a pain point between abyssal and chaos. I've seen a couple players who they don't even qualify for chaos, and yet they need to grind legacy gems. So they're stuck doing the newbie dungeons trying to unlock chaos, and that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to make chaos solo a little bit easier, a little bit lower, and then make co-op chaos higher, closer to Dark Forest level. So now endgame players are going to be in Dark Forest and co-op chaos whenever they need to upgrade their power stones, things like that. And then, so I don't know if this is clear or not, but we're trying to make a nice smooth progression to kind of get everyone to where the majority of players are, Dark Forest and that range, the end game range.
That makes sense. That makes sense along what you were just saying. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm too long didn't read. Pretty much, you're compacting the early game for people, helping them get to where they want to be, and you're also, not to torture the people at the late game, you're instituting a scaling system for the higher end stuff so that you're not punishing the players who've already grinded and everything. So it's you're scaling things up, but you're not in the process torturing the people who've toiled to get there. Makes perfect sense. All right.
You got it.
All right. Yeah. Tab. What's the next one?
So this kind of goes into that. This is actually just a comment, and I think it should be said and is noteworthy. But that boy Dave in Twitch said, this was earlier when we were talking about clan upgrades and stuff, and you guys were, talking about that. He said, I would love to see a refund or compensation at least for the guild upgrades that allowed you to skip floors, but they still put in the work for those. And I wanted that to be said because I do think that that's kind of important. Some people will feel that way. And then I can go to the next question.
I don't think that's going to happen. You got to realize, it's a development process. So, that's literally all right, I'm not going to go there. That's like...
If I may, Tommy.
Go ahead.
If I may. So I hinted at it before, but we already have a replacement perk in place for that. So to answer that question, I would say no for now. But once you see the perk, you can decide whether you still feel it's justified of, hey, we wasted our time getting this perk. And if the answer is still yes, then we can look at refunding those coins. But I would wait until you see the change before you make that decision. Or you make that request.
Well, my mythic sets or my epic sets from the old dungeons, when I didn't sell them in time, can I get reimbursement there, Papa? I'm just kidding. Go ahead with the next question. So for those of you who haven't been playing a long time, epic sets for the legacy dungeons used to sell. I don't even know what they sell for anymore. Even though I have a couple, but they level. You get to level them up, and the power stones is a really nice addition. I saw that. I don't know how the power stone drops there are, but I'm sure that definitely expedited things. So.
Yeah, there's two changes there. It drops level 1 power stones, and then we've removed the cost for combining level 1 to level 2. So anybody in Legacy Dungeon should be able to get level 2 Power Stones fairly easy. It's a bit of a grind, but that's what's available to them until they progress a bit further.
Okay, so Raw Ecstasy 911 has some questions, and these two kind of go together, so I'm just going to throw them in one. And I know that we've touched on this in one of our old live stream videos. This is kind of a throwback question, so I'm sure we can go ahead and touch base briefly on it, and if they want more information, we can drop the link to the video where we spoke more in detail about this. But how can we farm mythic maze sets in daily maze or in chests if we use more tickets, or do you get better odds?
So using more tickets does not increase your odds. All it does is make it faster for how quickly you want to play. So on Discord, this is a tangent, but it's related. There was a request, a petition, if you will, where people wanted to do quote-unquote blitz tickets and basically skip the entire gameplay of Insane Daily Maze. And I was adamantly opposed to it. And the reason why is pretty much any game that I've ever played where there's a skip feature or a autoplay feature, you have to question, if the game is even fun enough, or, why am I playing this game if the developer doesn't think it's fun enough for me to even play? That's the way I think about it. So instead, what we did is we came up with a system, and I'm going to go ahead and leak it now. Basically, what we're going to do is we're adding a drop. Let's call it a skip ticket. And what it's going to let you do is skip 5 floors of Insane Daily Maze. And you can use up to 3 of them. So you'll be able to start on floor 15, floor 16, and you'll get all the rewards that you skipped. And that includes using 10 tickets. So being able to use 10 tickets and skipping 15 floors will allow you to use up your tickets really fast, so people don't have to waste time if they don't enjoy it, and you're not auto-playing. Kind of solves both problems in my opinion. And those will drop from whatever dungeon is relevant to you. So if you're doing Abyssal Maze and that's all you can play, that's where they'll drop. And if you're in Dark Forest, they're only going to drop there, and you won't be able to farm Abyssal Maze to get them. But that's what we created to help that the players who have 500 plus daily maze tickets sitting around.
Since you were answering that one, did you catch what Woo Woo said there? It was a really good question. It was a statement, but a lot of people are complaining about this, especially if you're running too many tentacles on certain hunters. I see y'all did the modification to the speed of wind to kind of address that, but the tentacle lag issue, do y'all have any fixes in mind for that right now?
Yeah. So this is something that, I brought up recently internally, and we've been looking at how to solve it, and we had a couple ideas, one of which is super easy to implement, and from my testing works perfectly. I had, both games running side by side. One of them was about 5 to 10 frames per second. When I had, and I used my tools to give myself 20 multi-shot perks with 500% tentacles on Ancient One. And that's when I was getting about 5 to 10 frames per second. In the optimized version, I was getting solid 60 the whole time. So this is going to go to the testers fairly quickly, potentially as early as next week. I can't promise that, but that's the goal. And if they don't find any issues, we'll release it and the leg issue as far as tentacles is concerned will pretty much go away.
Okay. I'm going to nerd out a
so-
little bit on that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now I want to nerd out on that a little bit. So, as someone who dabbles in code and different things, is this is this primary with I don't know what your fix is, but is this a hardware based thing for the graphics, or is the issue? I don't want to say too much because of obvious reasons, but is that something that is where's the underlying problem as far as the way the game is set up?
So basically, every time you are summoning tentacles, the game has to calculate those. And even if we hide them, we already hid them a while ago. So there's maybe like 50 that you'll ever see on screen right now. Even hiding them, it didn't remove the fact that they were still there and still being calculated every, multiple times per second.
That answers my question.
So what we did actually is instead of doing, let's say you have, 5 multi-shots and 300% tentacles. That's like what, 15 tentacles per attack? What we did is instead of summoning 15 tentacles that each attack 3 times, we're summoning 1 tentacle that attacks 15 times instead. So the damage isn't changing, the number of stacks of poison and fire isn't changing, it's just the number of tentacles summoning. So if you really wanted to go crazy and, found a way to summon a crap ton of tentacles, you could still break it and still have lag, but I would say 99.9% of the people playing shouldn't experience tentacle lag again.
All right, so as someone who kind of gets what he's talking about, too long, didn't read again, pretty much so, they're going to find a way to balance it, well, hopefully find a way to balance it to where the math stays the same, but there are less processes taking, it's less steps to the fridge, guys. They're going for less steps to the fridge. That's the simplest way for me to explain it. All right, let's see, Tab, what do you have next? Have any of these questions actually sparked anything that I mean, you're constantly immersed in the back end nowadays. I miss you being around. You had 2 accounts, and I like playing with you on your on your normal account, we'll call it. But yeah, anything before she goes on that really sticking out with you, like asking questions for people who aren't like. I mean, that's got to be rough when you're constantly immersed in build. You don't really get to step back and look back and say, oh, like I remember when that brick was laid or that brick was laid. Is this bringing back any kind of nostalgia for you? Like, do you miss actually just playing the game? You gonna create an alt account, Papa, and play with me? I'll run you through a maze. I'll run you all the way to maze. You got to carry yourself the rest of the way.
We'll call it stick up pop. My name backwards. No, but being able to play the, like the things that I'm creating is super fun. So I mean, I get a lot of fun doing that. And one thing that, I saw a lot of feedback, even before I was hired of, oh, the devs never play the game, right? And I do notice that I have a lot less time to, just sit down and play the game. But it's also something that I'm purposely choosing to do is, like, play the game, like, as part of my job, like, spend an hour a day or maybe 3 hours on the weekend, something like that, and just, try to not lose the game side of it and be able to, not just see the developer side alone anymore. but still, I'm still a gamer at heart, and just remember being able to confirm that, hey, this is a problem. Some of the people don't realize that again, tentacles isn't, who cares if it's laggy? And as a gamer, I know everybody cares that it's laggy. It causes people to quit the game because they, aren't having fun, and it causes crashes, you name it. So, yeah, I'm forcing myself to, stay grounded, I guess, if you will, and make sure that I'm not losing that player insight that I, without tooting my horn, has so far helped me be a good game designer so far. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
That does, and it's a big help in a lot of ways, because I think it's really nice that you're actually considering that, and guess what? I consider us friends. I've known you for years. We play off and on. We hang out, but it is really huge that you actually are, you do listen to us. Some of the devs, I know there's a bit of a language division. I don't know everybody. Anyway, there are issues where communication breakdowns and things like that. But we're really glad that you all are making the changes, and I'm grateful that you're choosing to keep us in mind, and you're hearing us out right now. And I've sent you some messages, and I don't think they fall on deaf ears. I know you're busy, so I send you something. You're like, worst case scenario, it rattles around in the back of your head somewhere. All right. So the next question, Tab.
All right, so we're really, I'm trying to keep up with the Twitch, but I'm so far up in the top of it. I'm just going to kind of read through a little bit of this and kind of get to a question point, because there were two people kind of going back and forth, and one person asked it in question form that made really good sense, but I don't want the other person who started with this to go unheard. So that boy Dave, again, he said, I would love it if you could take a look into Mad Doc and Plague Ground. They're the only characters that have their abilities totally blocked once you pass Maze. It seems super unfair that the characters that they become It seems super unfair to the characters that they become completely useless after Maze. We have stackers, farmers, attackers, reflectors, and now nothingers. For instance, Mad Doc, Rocky Wizard, etc. He was saying at least remove the Resistance and Chaos dungeon, except maybe the Abyssal boss. And then he kind of compared it, imagine they removed Terror from Dark Forest upwards. It's not so nice. But then Jim kind of summed all of that up into a really pretty question and gave a suggestion. He said with Mad Doc and others with his ability, could AM and Chaos have a cap with his ability instead of them being useless, the same like Turtle has a cap at 5k? Does all that make sense?
Totally. And I don't know if those players have played Dark Forest or not yet, but that is literally what we did. We added disease back, no longer fully immune, but there is a cap. So for most floors, it's 50% disease, and then there's, I think, 2 floors that have either 100 or 200% disease. So disease is no longer useless in Dark Forest. And, that was a design decision that I think it was Cora and I made. So just a little quick backstory is Gavin and I designed the mechanics of Dark Forest. And then Cora and I designed the balance, the floor balance, things like that. So because we added that to Dark Forest, we can now add it to any other dungeon that we want. So there's we could definitely add disease back into those dungeons. The only thing that we need to be careful of is now that it's available as an enchantment, it can make those dungeons too easy for Titan players. So we need to find a way to make it fair for players who aren't, in Titan gear. and want to use those hunters without making it, it's a balancing, a fine line balancing issue. So yes, we can do it, and yes, we probably will. But we got to make sure we do it correctly without breaking something. And maybe it's as simple as making disease work on hunters and not in chance. So I mean, that's a possibility right there, and we just use that cap that we already created in Dark Forest.
So pretty much advice taken, but there is, you got to think of, like, I'm glad that Papa brought it up. You got to think about literally the balance issue. That's really hard. That's why they nerfed disease, is because Mad Doc was who you were guaranteed to go on any floor that you couldn't clear. That was you would find another hunter to make it, and then you would just go that one hunter, and it stopped people from actually thinking about the game, because it's like, oh, I don't have to think about that floor. I can just wait till that floor, use this hunter, and get past it. So they are moving towards a higher game IQ for all of us. So well, there was okay. So I lied to you earlier when I said I asked all the questions. I asked all the questions from the Discord or from the YouTube.
Can you hold that thought?
Yeah.
I want to follow up that. So I believe that player asked about not just disease, and I forgot to answer the other part. So the other useless hunters, Rocky or Wizard, whoever, that is one thing that we will be doing in the future, is kind of, looking at the older hunters and seeing which ones need improvements and fixing them. So I mean, that's something on the roadmap as well, and I don't know when that will start, but it is something that we planned. Not every hunter will be, apex predator strength, obviously, but we want every hunter to still be fun, unique, useful. So if a hunter is not one of those things, expect it to be, redesigned at least a little bit to become one of those things.
All right. So sounds good. This is actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask. So I don't know if this is a visual bug, because I've noticed a few visual bugs out there when it comes to certain things, and they're common in some ways and not so common in others. But so when it comes to using, so I'm mainly referring to Dark Forest. If you have people running a poison set while you run a fire set, or whatever the case may be, and they're using a support hunter like Terror, it doesn't happen as bad. It doesn't seem that, or I haven't noticed it as much. But weakness, I definitely notice it. When there's a transition, like so if I come in and I start attacking with, we'll use Hoplite, because this is the most common person for me to see it clear as day with. So if they're Void Knight and they stay on the boss with their poison damage, they're not running fire, I can tell a clear difference. Whereas if I just have them take no frequent NATOs and just weakness and just hit the boss, apply the weakness and step away, is that a visual bug? Is that what's the issue there?
You're gonna have to re-ask the question. I'm not sure I follow.
All right, so I'll just give you an example, and you can explain to me if that's a visual bug or what the issue is, or if you know, or if anyone's brought it up. So with normally the stacking mechanics should not interfere with one another, I wouldn't think, but seems like if I'm Hoplite on a wave and I have someone go like Void Knight, it doesn't happen as bad with Ripper, but I notice it with Ripper, but he applies 3 tentacles. I'm not going to get into the math of it, but with Void Knight, when he attacks, it seems like we get higher DPS if the Void Knight simply applies stacks. We're talking people that are equally geared, running the same same sets. We're talking. I tested it with a maze set because that was the only way I could do it and be unbiased. So if I run a fire set and they run a poison set, and we're talking Mythic Maze, because I noticed it with Titan gear, and I thought, well, maybe that's a HP to damage difference or a something. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. And I noticed that playing with people lower than me. So then I tried it with the Maze set, and we went in, and it still seemed like we were doing less DPS. I didn't know if it was a bar tick thing that was maybe a visual thing for me or not. And maybe you don't have an answer. If this is the first time you've heard of it, you can check into it. You and I could even run it together and check it out at some point. But it's just a weird thing. It seems worse with Titan gear. But yeah, it shouldn't chunk the way it chunks. I don't know. It just... that's why I lend myself to it being a visual thing. But then when I record times, you also have mini bosses and things. So I have no idea. But it was something that when I was coming up with questions, when I ask other people for questions, I'm like, well, I got to ask one too. So that was my one hard ball I was going to throw, fastball, whatever, because it's something that I couldn't understand, and I've been around a while, so I usually can make heads or tails of most things. And I'm not the only other player that's noticed it, so it's not a just me thing.
Sure. So, if I had to guess, it's based on attack speed. When Mech Assassin first came out, people were reporting that his damage would go down if you had too much attack speed, and that was accurate. I did tests, and not his dead shot, mind you, but his regular attack. And the reason why was because at some point, if you had too much attack speed, the attacks were kind of getting canceled. So you would be attacking less than if you had, a little bit less attack speed. So it is possible that there's an issue where Void Knight's attack animation is too fast, and you wind up doing less attacks than if his attack speed was lower. So that's my theory.
Okay. I think I found
obviously
it.
have to test it.
It makes
and
sense.
if it is an actual bug, then it's something we need to fix, of course.
It makes sense along with the characters that I usually experience, like Ripper, with the tentacle issue and everything else. The tentacle issue might fix it for Ripper, but I think that answer makes sense. And I'm just trying to picture it in my mind. But another thing that I wanted to bring up while I had you here, before I get to everybody else's questions, a guy brought this up, and I was too dumbfounded to explain it in a proper way. I don't remember what clan he was in. He may be in Lost in Exile or the Unwanted, or I can't remember. I can't remember what clan he's in. But he's... Oh, I actually remember who it is. I won't say it by name. But this person believes that attack speed does not work on Lavamander. And I've noticed that attack speed's not included on some hunters. It's included on others. And just because I have you on the horn, attack speed, I do believe, thoroughly works on Lavamander, but some people don't. I want your thoughts on that and why they may believe that.
So, I'm not sure. I'm definitely willing to test it. I know attack speed works on Plague Doctor, and Lavamander is the exact same mechanic, just with fire, so I don't see why it wouldn't. As far as why they would think that, I'm not sure exactly. But to answer your question about the attack speed perk, that's just a designer's decision. Apex Predator, I chose not to have attack speed or movement speed on him. And all of his perks are, reflective of that. So, I mean, just because you don't see attack speed on their perks, it does not mean that attack speed does not work on that hunter.
So would attack speed work on, say, Time Traveler?
I'm not sure if it does. And I don't think it works on Skillmaster either, unless you're standing still.
Yeah,
And
yeah. With Time Traveler, I don't
correct me
think
if
it
I'm
would.
wrong, but I don't think Time Traveler goes faster if he's standing still, does he?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I know.
Yeah.
I know it works on Skullmaster, but I don't know if Skullmaster has it or not off the top of my head. Well, I have my phone here, so I'll
He
look
does.
at it. I thought so. I know
Yeah.
it does work on him. I know I've tested that on him myself.
Well, it works on him when he's standing still. It doesn't
Yes.
work on him if he's running around.
If he's in motion, yeah, it's like a second or
Yeah.
something delay there. But yeah, no, it was just something that was brought up in casual conversation, and I thought, well, I had the floor, so I would ask it because I've not had the issue. I can notice the damage, but I play a lot. I play a little too much, maybe. But yeah, let's Tab had to step out and do something real quick, so we're gonna go ahead.
I'm here.
Okay,
So,
I just got her situated.
Just a-
My
One-
daughter was
1 second.
deciding she chose violence, so
Go ahead with the next question. That's fine.
all right.
Wait,
So
wait, before
this
you-
is more of a suggestion.
Tab, before you start, Papa, I think wanted to address something.
yeah, real
Okay.
quick. So, one thing I recommend that players do if they think that something isn't working is to test it out. So, for example, Lavamander, if you think attack speed isn't working, go in there with your Titan gear, do the DPS check. On the boss, the boss is in the corner. It should work just fine, and you'll see a pretty stable DPS number. And then switch out your gear for attack speed stones instead, and see if there's any difference. And if it doesn't move, then obviously there's an issue with attack speed. But if there's not, or if there is, then obviously it's working. It's something that the try mode is underutilized perhaps by some players, and it's a really useful tool.
Yeah, well, it is underutilized, I will say that. But an issue also people have when they test things, not everybody, but a lot of people don't do exactly what you said. Switch the specific gems, do it that way. Instead, they like, because you're saying go in naked with your gear on, and then test it. Is your damage this way? And then add the attack speed and do it that way. That was the issue that I was, because once I remembered who it was, I know what clan they're in. Well, I think I do. But I remember who the player was now. And when they were telling me they were testing things in ways that I wouldn't test things in. I'm like, well, you got to realize you're not going to get stable results there. You're going to get something different. So that's a good advice right there, everybody. Not too long, didn't read, but I'm going to recap it anyway. If you want to test something, that's the best way. Do it bare minimum. Change as little as possible. Like if it's a one thing, like attack speed there, that's a perfect example. And it doesn't matter what level your Yellowstones are. You could put all ones in. If you're using nothing and then the ones, you're using the same gear, you're going to get a measurable change. It may be a small measure, and that's not for testing complex things, but simple things like that. I think that is the absolute best way, and I may make a video on that. I think that's a good video to make. Thanks for the video idea, Papa. All right, Tab, what's the next question?
Okay, so this next one is more of a suggestion rather than a question. But it seems like they're wanting a certain hunter reworked, and it says, what if they give one Hound Master doggy the ice ability? A nice little boost in usefulness without breaking the character too much, but really just a little rework for the dogs.
So Houndmaster is the hunter they're referring to,
Yes, sir.
Correct.
I assume. And the dog, or unless they're talking about Doggo Knight. So it barks a lot. I don't know. Anyway, um, I would say suggest those, and we can take a look at them. Those 2 hunters were created by somebody else, so I can't just say, oh yeah, we can add that. I would have to talk to that designer and say, hey, are you willing to make this change? So suggest it, and we can look at it, but it's an interesting suggestion.
I have a suggestion I'll have you take back to him. It's an easy suggestion for a lot of the early hunters, Elf Archer, the works. Y'all have done things for them over the years, but some of the, like, especially the early few, like we're talking way back when, you know, they don't have Demon Pack, and then now we have things like not Celestial Pack. What's the one on Apex?
Eternal Pact?
Eternal Pack. Like things like those. Is that something we can incorporate into some of the old hunters to kind of revamp them? Just some of the new hotness. I'm not saying add them to them. Take away some of the less colorful stuff from the past. Some of the stuff like that's never used anymore. That, or you could also revitalize some of the old stuff that's not been utilized enough, like Dizzy and things. Dizzy's not quite stun. It's a different metric altogether. But I mean, you could do it either way, but you would have to have a dungeon that would work in. As far as the way the newest dungeons have gone, I feel like with the damage aspect of things, the way it's working, I don't feel like Dizzy and some of those things are useful, so you wouldn't have to remove anything. You could just give everyone that had Dizzy Celestial Pack or Eternal Pact or Demon Pact, or just little minor upgrades like that. I mean, just a suggestion. You don't even have to comment on it, but I was actually thinking about that early on in the stream tonight, so.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of changes are definitely possible. I'm going to just go back to the suggestions channel, being the main source of, gathering these kind of ideas. And then I did mention as well that we are going to be, looking at some of the older hunters and seeing what we can, spice up about them and make them more interesting. And, a review of their perks and things like that would definitely be included in that.
All right, our final, no, not final question, but we do have a big question, though. This one comes from the UK. Any chance for TommyKandu for Prime Minister?
You got my vote, Tommy. I don't know if it'll get you elected, but
I don't think I can
pretty
run
sure
for
you don't
Prime
qualify
Minister
either.
over there, yeah. All right, Tab, what do you have next?
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out in what order I should ask these or figure out which ones need to be asked. So while I work on that, I'm going to go ahead and ask one from the Discord that was asked. Can they expand on the loadout slots? So I kind of asked for extra info, and he said that there's currently 12 loadout slots. They're asking if they would increase the quantity of loadout slots.
Possibility. One thing that we are working on is the save and load system. We rolled that out a while ago, but it was broken, like completely useless. So I'm sure most people may not even be aware of it or what it's capable of. But basically how it will work, it'd be allowing you to, like, you have your current set of loadouts, you click save, and now you want to run CQ or Clan Boss, you can quickly change out your power stones, run those, and then when you're done, hit load, and it'll go back to what it was. It'll restore whatever you had saved. So that's not necessarily expanding the loadout slot count, but it does alleviate some of the necessity for it as well. So I don't know if that answers the question per se, but we would need to know why you need more than 12 sets in order to really look at that in deeper.
Labeling. How about labeling? Oh wait. How about labeling for the labeling system for the when it comes to all the Titan sets that I'm creating and having to include all those, is that something y'all are working on? But that's just a minor question I had. You can get to that if you want to or not. But there's
It's a good one. Just adding the logo, the little icon with the blue, and the icon of what enchant it is. That would go a long way to be able to identify gear quickly. So yes, we're going to be adding that. Honestly, it should have been done a long time ago, but it'll get done when it gets done, I guess. But yeah, we'll definitely add that.
There was another question when it comes to, and I'm trying to remember it because this one was asked to me in a voice channel and not in text form. It was, trying to remember, it was, I guess we'll skip that one. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was a good question. I should have typed it out. If I remember, I'll definitely ask you. Go ahead with the next one. I can't remember what the question was. There was a really good question that was asking me though, and if nothing else, guys, when I post this, when this gets posted on YouTube, I will ask Papa and get his response to it for you guys.
Okay, so the next question is going to be, would it be possible to do a clan hall queue system in the clan tab?
So we would add a button that allows you to queue and basically match with any clan members.
I think that's what they're getting at. From Danny, I don't know if they were watching earlier when we kind of touched on some of the clan hall fairs and all of that. So I think they're trying to see the ability to members.
Tab, you're cutting out. You're cutting out really bad. Tab, you were unhearable. We were not able to hear you.
Yeah, I think I do understand the question though. So I think with 50 players maximum in a clan, I'm not sure it's a great idea. You could wind up sitting there and queue for, quite a while. Even if other players are online and playing, you could be there 10 minutes if the other 2 players are in a dungeon run. So I'm not sure if that's the best way to approach it. But yeah, I think even just what we talked about earlier is just being able to not need the clan hall and just, click on a clan mate and invite to game. I think that would go a long way, versus being able to queue with somebody like that.
Alright, sorry, yeah, no, I was listening to that, but I was informed my daughter got sent back up here. She punched a boy in the face multiple times. She definitely, yeah. What are your thoughts on what should I do about that? What should I do on that? We're talking about a 4-year-old here. How do I address that? Can we how do I reprogram that behavior?
No comment.
No comment. Okay. All right. So now y'all know it. My wife, what she meant when she said my daughter chose violence. We know what it is now. But
literally violence.
Literally violence.
Just the expression.
That's what I thought it was too. But yeah, she's 4 and he's like 6. So I mean. Oh, yeah. So, the boy's dad just got home and asked if we're running a fight club or what the case is. But, Anyway, yeah, there was one, Rach, what was that question you just asked a minute ago? I'll let you go ahead and ask it live. Hopefully it's not about my daughter. Oh, Rach has himself muted. Alright, well, does anyone else have any questions for Papa? I mean...
Can you hear me?
We can indeed.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, let me go back to the question. I think you're referencing the one I put out a bit ago. And I will restate the question as I answer my own thoughts. The Earth on Earth is amazing. Earth with fire, fire with poison. Which,
Yeah, definitely restate that.
no, actually, my last question. I'll be honest, I think you answered everything that I had to put out there.
Okay.
That was literally a statement. I think we're good. The balancing is pretty damn good on the game, but I'll go back on you.
All right. No. As far as I remember what was asking me, and this was actually a Rach question too. Now that I'm thinking about it, was when it comes to and I know he touched on it earlier, the upgrading the Titan schematics. What's going on there? What are y'all looking at doing? I know nothing's finite, that y'all are going to make changes, but what's exactly the play there? Because that sounds like that would just break it. Like, people would be running Dark Forest in 2 minutes, in no time. This will be AM all over again.
Yeah. So, I mean, fun fact, that feature is done, and you know, it could have been released already. Excuse me. But we didn't release it for pretty much that exact reason. And, you know, we kind of need the content challenge to go with it. And that's going to be Abyssal Dark Forest. So, ideally, Abyssal Dark Forest will be hard enough where that gear is, you know, required. You know, I don't know, the balancing of Abyssal Dark Forest will take place later, obviously, but that's basically the plan. Is, yeah, it'll be too powerful for Dark Forest, but we want it, you know, we think it's a good feature for future content, not for current content.
In the spirit of the conversation, where we're talking about keeping people engaged before you have this issue, you don't have to do it upon release. But in the spirit of it, it could be possible, just throwing a suggestion out, that in order to get into Abyssal Dark Forest, like, you could throw a ticket system at it where you need a ticket of Dark Forest, so that means you got to run with someone. It doesn't have to be the other person that's OP geared, though people will do that. But to where you know, maybe people do a few more carries, and that way they get their tickets built up when their buddy's offline, so that they can run with them, and then their buddy is behind them on tickets, and he's got to build his tickets up to be able to run it. So, like, you know, 1-to-1. So, like, it's the same thing as making it like it switches at wave 10, except for your hunters reset, and then you also you follow the logic. Just a suggestion.
Sure. I don't know if it's a good idea, though.
Why not? Let's hear it.
You know, worst case scenario, let's say you and I, we only have a few hours to play together. We don't want to force you, per se, to run regular Dark Forest just because you don't have enough tickets, and then our entire week we can't play together because of that. So, I mean, that's a downside of what you're suggesting. But I understand the goal. So, I mean, maybe there's something there, but the way you described it probably isn't the way I would implement it if we were to do such a thing.
All right, fair enough. No, I think that's reasonable. All right. Um, Sai, do you have anything you'd like to add? Tyne, anyone? If y'all would like to ask any questions, anybody here in the voice chat? If anyone has any questions,
Did Rachel's
Rach chimed
Rachel's
in.
question about the test mode for? I'm talking about his question in Twitch about test modes for Dark Forest. Would they add a test mode for, let's say, Dark Forest 10, where you can see what works best with that boss?
Not that's very specific for like one thing. That doesn't sound very productive. Like I'd rather them keep doing what they're doing than waste time on
I
that.
think that's exactly the question. Is let's say you can choose a wave of DF and then try out different characters to see what works better on a solo, and then you can kind of partner up with somebody and figure out what works better together. So like if I were to test out a DF10 with I don't know, Girl with the Golem, and thank you for that, by the way, Papa, or whoever, then I could run that particular wave as a test solo, of course. Like no manipulation, no anything like that. It's literally just stats, numbers, and seeing if you can do it.
I
It'll
think
save a lot of.
I think
doing
that's
all the
been
mechanics.
suggested over the years. Is that's been one thing that I've heard since Reach said that. It's one thing that's been suggested is the ability to do the test mode, but have the test mode to where you can select exactly where you're at instead of the test arena. Is this dungeon, this wave, and I think Reach is suggesting being able to do it by yourself, solo mode or duo mode, and being able to test which. That presents a lot of good things and bad things. I mean, but I think that's a good question. Like I think you're probably the last person I talked to about that, and that's been
Let me expand upon it if you don't mind. It would be like, let's say I want to play Wave 8 of Dark Forest, and I just want to try it out. And like, there'd be no extra benefits. There's no trophies gained. You don't gain anything from it except experience with that character. Would it be possible to have a test mode for different waves of different dungeons?
Yeah, that's
Or at the very least,
that's what we were talking about, Rage. That's exactly what I was asking. But it wouldn't just be Dark Forest to be. If they did something like that, they'd probably just implement it over everything because not everybody's on Dark Forest. They'd want to be able to do it in Drag, and they'd want to be able to do it everywhere. And it would be playtime, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, something like that is definitely possible. I think the question becomes, how many players are going to benefit from it, and, does it bring any value? And it definitely does to players like you and me, but does it bring players or value to the majority of players? Probably not, in my opinion. So, I mean, it would be nice. I don't know if we can afford the resources for it. For example, we would have to pause work on Abyssal Dark Forest in order to implement that. And I don't think most players would want that. We do have limited resources available to us. It's not like every good idea we can implement, if that makes sense. We have to pick and choose the ones that would benefit the most players. What was that?
Of server space to do so. In fact, I think that was already addressed earlier when I think it was you who actually mentioned that you're working on getting more server space for the app.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the servers, it wouldn't be about the server space or anything like that. That would be unrelated. Yeah, in this case, it's really just about how much developer time is available. And unfortunately, it is limited, so we need to focus on where we put that. You know, I have a list of changes that I want to make or bugs that need fixing, and you know, I need to prioritize them. Like, do I want tentacles fixed with the lag, or do I want to, you know, to change this other small feature that affects hardly anyone? I got to pick which ones are prioritized, and I'm not sure that feature is. It would be in the backlog for a long time, unfortunately, I think is the answer. So
it's a good
let's
idea.
pretend it's a good idea, and it would provide value, just not to enough people to make it worth it at this point in time. So in the future, I could see it as a possibility. In the near future, you know, next 6 months, probably not going to happen.
Oh. Anyway, so I'm gonna summarize that with pretty much we're all wanting new content and things like that. So what we need to be doing as players is building the community, keeping people involved in the game, keep people enjoying the game, and keep putting our suggestions in the suggestion box over there on the Hunt Royale main. Put our suggestions in, and what we need to do is, you know, like when the devs were doing things, like when the game was going downhill, guys, I became a free-to-play account. I was literally, I wasn't spending much at all, like, but now I'm buying both monthly passes, and I even dropped, you know, a little bit of money on Dark Forest. Not as much as a lot of you guys, but we start supporting their work, like just like when they were doing things, and I'm like, no, they're not adding value to the game. Now that there is value being added to the game, they're taking things in. If we spend more on the game, what we can afford, don't be spending money on the game you can't afford, but you know, if you can afford it and you're enjoying the game, spend money on the game or gift it to a friend, and then they'll have more money to share resources with new developers. They might have a guy who just, if we play enough and they keep doing good things, and then we keep throwing our dollars their way, get behind people you can support, and they're looking after us. Heck, Papa took 2 hours out of his day. Are you getting paid to be sitting here right now, Papa?
I am not. This
Okay.
is my weekend.
He's taking time out of his family time to help us, and we appreciate it. It's greatly appreciated. But guys, with all the good changes, if you don't need, you know, the monthly subscription, I would say gift it to a friend. Gift it to one of the lower guys in your clan, somebody who's, you know, grinding new. That is one of the main ways that these newer players really get better drops. That's the best investment you can make if you're going to spend money on the game, if you're not already paying for it. And if you are and you want to help someone else, that's the best thing for them. The better drops alone is amazing. That's not including the gold and everything else. And we're just glad. I'm personally glad. I'm not speaking for everybody else. I'm glad that y'all are. And mind you, I made these changes in my behavior a while ago, where I started spending money on the game again. Once y'all, even though you didn't work for them then, you're just a tester. Now that they are actually doing things that they pay attention to the community. Guess what? You're going to make changes that I don't like in the future. I already know it. That doesn't mean I stop buying, but if it's continual, then I'll stop paying for the game. But I'm glad that I'm spending a few bucks, and I only buy them most of the time because I'm already maxed out. Like I pay because that's how you support the game. That's how we got people like PapaKicks working there now. Is they make a little more money, they can hire more people. Maybe we can get extra features like Rach was talking about. Oh well. So we have that. And before we close things out, we have a first time chatter, which he's just on an alternate profile, I'm assuming on Twitch. Can't remember his old login. So the final question for you, Papa, before we get out of here, from the Twitch stream, guys, is going to be, who's your favorite hunter? That's from Sox's.
That's a great question.
Sox's 1.
Fox is one, huh? You must be a first-time chatter, first-time caller. Um, so I remember we already had this discussion, this exact same question as a giveaway contest in one of our previous streams. So I think the answer, I don't know if it's changed or not, but I think we should do a giveaway if you're okay with that.
That's totally up to you guys.
I would like to do so. If
Okay, all right. So we have a giveaway for
Let's do
those
it.
of you who stayed till the end. All right.
So,
how's the giveaway
we'll do-
rules? How does this work?
We'll do two if this is okay. So, who's my favorite hunter? If you can guess that one, the original answer, which was, the last live stream, and then I'll try and think of a second place hunter if the original hunter is no longer my favorite.
All right.
So,
So everybody
that's
in
my suggestion.
the live stream, you guys get your answers in. I'm assuming we're guessing your favorite hunter, PapaKicks.
Yeah. You want to do one of yours?
Oh Lord,
Your
no.
favorite hunter?
No, too many people know my favorite hunter. I'll tell you afterwards. I'll tell you afterwards. All right. No one's guessing. Nobody wants a giveaway.
For real?
Nobody's commenting. Oh wow!
Okay, so
I just got
In
bombarded.
case they don't know, you have to type out your answer to qualify for this.
Yeah, you have to type it out. We have yes, gimme goodies. Dudio says girl with a golem. All right, so yeah, yes, gimme them goodies. He went with Mad Doc. Someone just sent me a block of text. I don't know if it's related to the live stream or not.
Did you touch? I don't know if you're watching if you're watching everything or not, but sorry, I'm trying to go back and forth between our daughter and this.
What was the
Did you get the
question?
one? Is there any kind of loose timeline on Abyssal Dark Forest? Also, will it have a unique hunter reward like Torment was for AM?
It's too early to speculate on timeline. And that follow-up sentence would have been speculating on the timeline, so I'm not going to finish it. And I can neither confirm nor deny on what the rewards will be.
Pretty, please.
No comment.
Yes, only one guess per person. Please don't do this to me, PapaKicks. All right. So the guy
There was also a few more if you want me to put them in. But these people are also in the voice chat. I don't know if they're able to unmute and ask them themselves now or not.
They are not. I could make that happen if Papa is willing to. If you guys can go one at a time, we can do it. But we're wrapping things up, guys. So I know most of these people.
These are
I
just
think
some pretty good ones.
I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and open the chat up to everyone. You all can unmute, but guys, I will end the stream as soon as people start over talking to each other. So take your time, okay? Take your time.
All right, well, I'm just going to go ahead and give my out because I'm now focusing on homely duties. So now that our daughter's home. So thank you so much, Papa, for letting me talk with you. It was a pleasure as always, and I appreciate the time that you spend talking with us. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thanks, Tabs. It's great to be here and really great to hear your voice again.
All right, before we end this,
I'm
guys.
always here. Just shoot me a message.
With anything, brother. Hey, anything. Anything, always. But, guys, everyone is free to unmute. I wonder if I can server deafen. Yeah, I can server deafen. Okay. All right. Sorry, Sai. You were. I server muted you because you sounded like you were in an echo box. Everyone here, you guys can now unmute yourselves. So if you want to leave and rejoin, you'll be able to unmute, and you'll be able to ask questions. But don't talk over Sai. I'm going to unmute him, and hopefully he has his connection issue fixed. Sai.
Yeah,
There you go.
I just wanted to say PapaKicks thank you for going to our server and doing this Q&A with Tommy and all of us. And just keep doing what you're doing.
It's been my pleasure. Happy to help. Thanks. And thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that.
He's officially my favorite dev. The rest of you guys that just joined, if you all leave the server and rejoin, you should be able to speak. If you want to ask Papa anything personally, Tiny, I learned to say it right yesterday, actually, last night. So if you want to leave and ask, Zolderath, you're the one who sent me that wall of text. If you leave and rejoin, you should be able to unmute yourself. And you'll be unmuted, and you'll be able to ask if you want to do that really quick. Socks, is anyone else? Okay, so we got a few more.
Hey,
Crow and
really
Samurai.
quick, PapaKicks and Tommy and Tabs. I see you back there, even though you've been quiet. I want to thank you guys for kind of going through this and being able to kind of break down and evaluate different things and answer questions. So once again, really quick, Jaden or PapaKicks, I appreciate everything you do. I follow you. I look at all the different things you update, and it's been extremely helpful throughout the multiple years that I've been playing this game. So once again, thank you all for what you do, Tommy, Tabs, for facilitating this and being able to kind of go through things and get this going. Once again, you guys are amazing. I will, I digress and I will bow out, but once again, thank you, and I definitely appreciate everything you're doing for the community, because that's what keeps me here.
That is a fantastic statement. Thank you, Rach. Yeah, you should give like wedding speeches or something like.
There you go. All right. Does anyone want to? If you guys leave and rejoin, you all are able to unmute yourselves. You just got to click on your name and the mute button. It has you as if you're muted, but you have to leave before you're able to do it with the changes I've made. You just got to leave and rejoin this particular Discord's updates. If not, we're going to have to do it. All right, somebody left. There we go. All right. Oh, you remuted yourself.
Well, I don't want to hold the floor, but so you said you can't give us any details on the rewards, but if Abyssal Dark Forest isn't coming out anytime sooner, we will see the rank 2 enchantment. You said they're ready, but we're waiting because it'll be broken.
You're a little soft. Tommy, did you have to
yeah. He said. I'll summarize. He pretty much just said. He said you pretty much can't give a timeline on Abyssal Dark Forest, but as far as the new items breaking Dark Forest, because they obviously will, is there any timeline on when that's going to happen? I believe that's the question. If I'm wrong, go ahead. I'm going to turn you up a little bit. So
That's it. Because I mean, I play like Tommy does. I play a lot, and I'd sure love to run it faster, even if I'm, just farming more schematics for the next dungeon. But if it's going to be so long for Abyssal, and you said the rank 2s are ready, can we expect those in the next month or two, or no?
I don't know the exact timeline. I would expect the upgrades to come out maybe a month before Abyssal. That's probably going to be our timeline. You know, give you something to farm, prepare for, and be ready for when Abyssal launches. So
I'm going to go on a limb
I
here.
can't really give more detail than that, but hopefully that answers your question.
I'll go on a limb here for you. As someone who does sales and a bunch of other things on how to run businesses and things, I would imagine that this would happen somewhere a month before Black Friday, and probably the new dungeon somewhere shortly thereafter Black Friday. So get your goodies now before they're too expensive. You think it's a sale on Black Friday? Shop a month or two, like 3 months before Black Friday. Guess what? Same price you'll pay on Black Friday. Get your goods now. they got developers, they got testers, they got everybody. There's got to be one guy who pays attention to sales in the office. Even if he is a developer or tester, there's someone that's got to pay attention to that. Because if it wasn't a business, we wouldn't be having fun doing it, you know? That's their job, so it's probably cumbersome to them. But anybody else, guys, if you need to ask a question, leave now. I'm going to give a 10-second countdown. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1.
I got a quick one.
Oh, buzzer beater.
So, like how hockey came out with the soccer ball, do you guys have more plans to be doing more hunters like that again? Just like for pauses?
You were kind of far from the mic there. I don't know if Papa heard you.
Only part of it.
You heard him?
No, only part of it.
Okay. Start over, Si.
Alright, is this a bit better?
Yes,
A little bit.
a little bit. I've got you at 200%. So
Okay, so like how Rock came out with special platform, especially with the soccer goal, are there plans for Marvin Hunters to come out like that?
which hunter are you referring to?
Rocky.
More hunters.
Rocky. So Rocky, the hunters that throw over walls and things, I think is what he's saying.
So the event where I don't remember the exact name, like played to help the planet one. Is that what you're referring to?
Here, I'm gonna unmute him. Go ahead, Si. He said yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we definitely have one more on the way. It's already done. I don't know when it drops. It should be pretty soon, and I'm not going to spoil what it is, but it looks really cool. So if you want to support the planet and get a cool looking skin, it's on its way. And if these wind up being popular, it's not a ton of work to make, so I'm sure we can keep coming up with them if people are interested.
I'm not gonna lie, as an OG, as soon as I saw that, I bought it up, got the skin, and the rest of the stuff. It was just like an instant few bucks, nothing big, but definitely support that. So, GG.
All right. Well, that was a buzzer beater, so that's going to be the last one. I'm going to have some words with Papa because how many times did he tell me I was wrong tonight? Not enough, just a few. So I'm going to have to give him a good old-fashioned ass chewing, guys. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Papa, thank you.
Actually,
Go
that was
ahead.
the whole joke.
I'm sorry I had to come back. No, I don't want to be here for that, but that's hilarious.
Guys, definitely, it's a great team over there. I'm glad, I won't talk about people specifically, but there were some bad behaviors going on, and Boombit has turned it around, and I'm really happy for him, and I'm really happy that Papa's joined the team and everything. So, thank you, Papa, and I think I'm originally the one who suggested this tagline to you, but it doesn't feel right, even though this was my stream, because someone else is too busy nowadays. Do you mind?
It's all you, dude.
I'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you for having me, by the way.
Oh, anytime, brother. It was a pleasure, man. Thank you for making time for us. But I'll catch you in the next one. I don't know if PapaKicks will be here or not, but TommyKandu out.